Into delayed gratification. Delayed gratification can be used as a process, it can be used as a tool, it can be used to cause expansion, it can be used to affect growth, it can be used to influence a development of multitude and a development of greater awareness, a development of greater perspective, a development of a greater space in general. And when it comes to delayed gratification, I'm necessarily talking about, and we'll talk about a couple of things in this video, but it's going to be delayed gratification in terms of delaying gratification in a certain area, delaying gratification in a certain state of being, or delayed gratification in a certain action, in a certain thought, in a certain feeling, in a certain spiritual space or path, and therefore delaying that gratification. What are you going to get out of delaying that gratification? And therefore, that may even be another source of or sense of gratification that is more just, that is more right for that situation, that is more suited towards your path mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. A gratification that is more suited to your growth when it comes to mentally, spiritually, physically, and emotionally, and mentally causing you to grow, not only to continuously keep pushing forward, not only to keep consistently expanding, but to make sure that you're gratifying the right things, to make sure that you're having gratification, or let's say satisfaction for those of you that don't understand the term, in areas that are actually a part of and counting towards your path, counting towards your path of growth, counting towards your path of expansion, counting towards your path towards success, counting towards your path in life that you need to be on when it comes to mentally, that you need to be on when it comes to physically, that you need and should be on when it comes to emotionally, that you need and should be on when it comes to spiritually. Delaying gratification when it comes to mentally is not allowing a certain mind state, or not allowing a certain thought or provocation of a thought to seep into your mind and to cause you to think in a certain way, or to cause your mental state of being to be situated or constructed in a certain way where you now are involved in this action of getting gratification, satisfaction on a constant basis. Therefore, in going away towards that type of action when it comes to mentally, you will be mentally striving for things that are challenging, mentally striving for things that aren't necessarily just given to you like that, mentally striving for things that are outside of the box, that are outside of maybe what you're originally used to when it comes to your reality. Going and reaching out for and working towards things that are actually going to mentally get you into a better space of well-being, mentally get you into a stronger space, mentally have you developing a better perspective of what it is that you're going through and what it is that you're dealing with when it comes to mentally. Whatever that may be, whatever thought you could be having mentally, whatever sense you could be sensing when it comes to mentally, anything like that, that you are going to delay gratification with when it comes to mentally, you will, by going without that gratification, by going without that satisfaction, you will be able to find gratification, find that in other areas when it comes to mentally that are more suited to growing your mind, that are more suited to your mental stability, that are more suited to your mental strength, that are more suited to helping you grow mentally and expand mentally when it comes to your path when it comes to mentally. You'll notice that if you delay gratification in this area that's going to benefit your mental state of being, you will reap those benefits from your mental state of being. You will see that, okay, I've delayed gratification in this certain sector. When it comes to mentally, whether that's an action mentally, whether that's a mental thought, mental forms, certain ways of thinking that you're trying to delay that have you in a sense of gratification at all times. So straying away from being gratified, or let's say gratification in gratification energy, or let's say even satisfied at all times. When it comes to detaching from that, you're going to, like I said, work towards building your mind state when it comes to mentally. Work towards building perseverance when it comes to mentally. Perseverance against that gratification or that satisfaction. And therefore, through that process of delaying your gratification in that area, you will gain the ability to see, to perceive, to mentally be aware of other things that you can satisfy, other things that you can be involved with gratification through simply the process of delaying gratification in this area, delaying gratification in this mind state, delaying gratification in this mental space, delaying gratification with these certain mental thoughts, delaying gratification with these certain mental aspects or mental forms that you're dealing with. And by delaying that gratification, you will get something out of that, like finding new things. And like I said at the beginning, I'm talking about delaying gratification in terms of things that aren't suited for your growth, and things that aren't suited and right for your path, and to push you on towards growing and expanding on your path in life. So I can make this video and you guys can say, well, you're just telling us to delay gratification in one specific area and then choose something else to delay or to gratify us with, or choose something else to satisfy you with. That's not necessarily what I'm saying. I'm pretty much explaining it as a process of weeding out all negative actions, or weeding out in terms of mentally all negative thoughts or mental aspects or mental mind states that you can be in when it comes to being stuck in a certain state, in a certain repetition of gratification that isn't right for you, that could be possibly toxic to your growth when it comes mentally. Delaying gratification from certain actions when it comes to physically, certain person, places, or things that you're involved with that has you in a, let's say, supposedly toxic relationship or a toxic connection to that so-called action, when it comes to something suiting you on your path to growing, expanding, being successful when it comes to physically. Delaying gratification into certain feelings, certain ways of emotional states of beings that have you in a way of constantly needing to feel that way, constantly feeling like you're in a state of emotional lack because you're always gratifying yourself in this area, so you always feel a certain way. Therefore, you don't deal with feeling a state emotionally of abundance because you're always dependent on something when it comes to emotionally. So delaying gratification when it comes emotionally can give you that emotional sense of freedom, that emotional sense of independence, just by simply delaying gratification. And when it comes to spiritually the path that you're on, rather than getting stuck in certain things that you're comfortable with, rather than getting stuck in certain energies, certain spiritual systems, certain spiritual perspectives, certain spiritual ideas, or whatever that may be that you're involved with when it comes to spiritually, that has you on a path of self-righteousness or extreme thoughts of excessive ego, or whatever that may be, that has you connected to what you could be experiencing when it comes to being in a sense of gratification all the time when it comes to spiritually, being a sense of satisfaction when it comes to all the time when it comes to spiritually. Therefore, delaying gratification in those areas, not saying don't have any gratification, don't have anything that you can be satisfied with or whatnot in other terms of gratification, but find things that are more suited for your growth when it comes to spiritually. Find things that are more suited to being in gratification energy wise when it comes to your path, when it comes to your journey, when it comes to your spiritual purpose in the life. And when it comes to, like I said, mentally, you'll find the strength through delaying gratification in certain areas, finding better things to do when it comes to mentally, better things to be involved with when it comes to mentally. Your mind will grow, your mind state will become even stronger. You'll develop new ways of thinking about things. You'll develop new streams of consciousness, new ways of going down those and perceiving and involving and building those streams of consciousness when it comes mentally. Why wouldn't you want to expand when it comes mentally? Why would you want to stay constantly in a mind state, constantly in a same specific gratification or satisfaction mind state when it comes to mentally? That's, in other words, being docile. In other words, not wanting to change at all, or wanting to view a certain thing a certain way, wanting to think about a certain thing a certain way forever and forever. And for those of you that know, being stuck in the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome could be something that could be holding you back, and something that could be having you in a delusion. Therefore, you could be perceiving that some things are going to change, yet you don't change the way that you view a certain thing when it comes mentally. You don't change the ways that you're in gratification, or ways that you're satisfying or reaching that gratification space or reaching that satisfaction space when it comes to mentally, outside of things that you're used to, outside of reaching outside of the box when it comes to mentally. So expanding, reaching beyond those aspects to your mental state of being when it comes to delayed gratification can be a benefit towards one's own mental state of being and one's own growth on their path when it comes to mentally, and one's own expansion on their path when it comes to mentally, and one's own discovery of new energies and discovery of new ideas, discovery of new spaces, discovery of new thoughts when it comes to ways of communicating, when it comes to the mental aspect and the mental state of being when it comes to what we are experiencing. When it comes to delaying and delayed gratification, when it comes to physically, person, places, and things that have you in a certain aspect of dealing with constant gratification, that have you in a certain aspect of being constantly satisfied, stray away from these actions, stray away from these person, places, and things in order to derive, in order to develop new actions, discover, come into new physical actions that are going to be more suited for you, not only physically, but also benefit your mental state of being, also benefit your physical state of being, and also benefit your emotional and spiritual state of being. Come into and discover and develop and to new actions when it comes to physically. New people that you're around, that you're dealing with, that you are involved with on your path when it comes to physically, and what you're involved with when it comes to your physical state of being. And in terms of dealing with those persons and dealing with those individuals and those beings in ways that are of delayed gratification, this could be getting space away from a certain physical desire, and therefore you have a new perspective on how to view it. You have a new way of how to move when it comes to physically. Delaying gratification in terms of always wanting to have things go a certain way when you're involved with individuals when it comes to physically. Therefore, you can reach out and experience new energies, reach out and experience energies that are in an undocile sense when it comes to physically. It could even be when it comes to delaying gratification with yourself when it comes to physically. This could be your actions that you're involved with, the desires that you're involved with, the desires that you're finding satisfaction or gratification in. You can delay that, and you can find, like I said, other actions that are going to be more suited to your path, more actions that are going to be not as toxic to your physical state of being, and that you're going to be able to grow with. These actions are going to be able to help you expand. These actions are going to help you to reach new places, new spaces, new states of being when it comes to physically. And when it comes to places, let's say you are, let's just give an example. You are wanting to do something that you desire. You're wanting to do something that is going to give you a sense of gratification or possibly you could say a sense of satisfaction. You're going to be delaying that gratification. Don't go to that place physically. Don't use that thing when it comes to a thing, when it comes to physically. But give yourself space, give yourself that physical detach from that action, from that person, from that place, from that thing, so that you can delay your gratification and you can learn something about that action, learn something about that, let's say, physical state, learn something about why it is what that is and what does that really mean, not just in terms of physically, but mentally aspects, physically aspects, the emotional aspect, the spiritual aspect toward that action. So you know you're not just doing things just to be gratified, just to be satisfied on a constant basis, just to be fulfilling your desire, just to be fulfilling the way that you want to make yourself feel by inducing certain things when it comes to physically, gaining that perspective out of what it is that you're involving with when it comes to physical. So you could be expanding onto new places and things and different actions that you're involved with when it comes to physically, and delaying gratification. I've delayed gratification. I smoked nicotine for about 5.5 years, and it's probably been about a year and 5 months, almost a year and a half, with delaying gratification from that desire, delaying gratification from that action when it comes to physically. And I'm telling you right now, and you can take this from coming from me, from speaking through my direct experience, is that delaying that gratification has helped me to move along my path. Delaying that gratification of, let's say, smoking nicotine has helped me to expand. It's helped me to grow. Whereas before, when I used to smoke, I used to know that, this is something that I need to delay eventually. This is something that I need to eventually stop. I need to subside from doing this action. And as soon as I did do that, so many things had started to change. So many different ways of finding that desire, or finding that satisfaction or that gratification just by delaying gratification through the presence of stopping to vape nicotine. I have been able to grow mentally, grow physically, grow emotionally, grow spiritually, and I have things to show for. Whereas today, I've put in the work on my channel. I've talked about and I've put that energy against the process of, let's say, nicotine addiction, and brought awareness to the aspect of nicotine addiction, brought multiple videos on the process of quitting addiction, brought multiple videos down here of talking about how to detach from these things, brought multiple videos down here on how to deal with the process of quitting nicotine, and not only nicotine, but any substance that you're possibly struggling with when it comes to mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And I could say that through delaying my gratification of using that nicotine, through delaying the gratification of fulfilling that desire, which for me was primarily nicotine, other substances like marijuana or whatever, but that I have delayed gratification from all those for the time being. And I can tell you that through putting in that work, through growing, putting in that work mentally, growing, putting in that work physically, growing, putting in that work emotionally, growing, putting in that work spiritually, that I've been able to delay gratification. And that has been a process that has made me stronger, that has been a process that has made me wiser, that has been a process that has made me more knowledgeable. Delaying that gratification in that way has been a process that has made me gain a mental perspective. Delaying that gratification has made me and allowed me to gain a physical perspective. Delaying that gratification, delaying that sense of satisfaction or whatever has enabled me, and through that process I have found more emotional perspective. Therefore, on my path when it comes to spiritually, I'm involving myself in things in a sense of delaying gratification, in a sense of fulfilling a certain desire that I had been involved with, allegedly stuck in. You could just say that it wasn't, because here I am. I'm free, and free from certain things while still dealing with other battles, because we all have things that we have to deal with when it comes to mentally, physically, and emotionally. But we all have to realize that spiritually we're always protected, and spiritually what we're going through on our path is what we have to deal with, and the experiences that we go through are going to end up at the end of the day spiritually growing us. Therefore, my spiritual perspective has been gained, my spiritual views, my spiritual abilities have been enhanced through the process of delaying gratification. So I'm not just sitting here telling you, oh, delay gratification. This is the template that I'm giving you guys in order to kind of learn from something that I did, where I can actually have and be the speaking example or the epitome of what it means to do these things, to use the process of delayed gratification, to explain delayed gratification. And I had a funny thought this morning, was like, I'm almost at 200 videos. Of course, I've got a lot of work to put out over this next really infinity, over this next multiple lifetimes, over this next multitudes of experiences that I'm going to be going through. There's much more to come, and that's something that's obvious. But in terms of my aspect of what I have put in work as regarding to the videos that I put in, I'm almost at that amount. And I think about it, I'm like, you know what, at one point the amount of videos that I've released is going to be greater than anything that I had to delay gratification from. It's going to be greater than anything that I had to detach from when it comes to involving myself in a so-called toxic desire that could be affecting me in any way when it comes to mentally, spiritually, or physically and emotionally. So kind of just having something to look at, to be like, you know what, I'm outweighing those energies. I'm working towards overcoming that regardless of what it is that I have to deal with. I'm working towards putting in that work in on a constant basis. Peep the mug, I know it's pretty cool. My partner got this for me. She truly knows how to get the right thing for whatever I need when it comes to mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And it's just a good thing to experience, and something that everyone should experience is delayed gratification, whether that be with your partner, whether that be with your loved ones, whether that be with your friends, your family, whatever that may be. Putting yourself through some sort of process of delayed gratification could help the relationship. It could help the way that you relate. It could help the way that you are involved with friends, family, loved ones. It could change the way that you perceive these things. Therefore, you'll have a newfound perspective on whatever it is that you're dealing with. But nonetheless, that was a little bit of a tangent, but we're going to get back to the mission. We're going to get back to the topic when it comes to delayed gratification as far as emotionally. As far as emotionally, you want to stay away from things that have you emotionally depending on, like, let's say, an external source. I'm going to do a video that is about reaching, that is about achieving an internal high. That is about reaching an internal high. That is about achieving an internal high. That is the opposite thing of getting an external high. Some could call it a natural high, but we're going to break down what that means, because some things are viewed as natural and still being an external source to get one in a high state, whether that be mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually. We're going to delve into that, so just be on the lookout for that. If that sounds interesting to you guys, definitely be on the lookout for that. Drop a like on this video if you support someone who supports someone like yourself. Therefore, I support you, you support me. Each one teach one, and in that way we can all create a reality that is right for us and that is reaching towards being whatever we need to influence the world mentally, influence the world physically, influence the world mentally and emotionally and spiritually. And when it comes to, like I said, anything that you can delay gratification from can be things that are having you emotionally dependent on certain things, having you in a state of emotional lack, right? I talk about how you can see people's actions mentally or physically, and people's the way they use their mind when it comes to mentally, and people the way they carry themselves when it comes to their emotional state of being, and people when it comes to their spiritual aspects or spiritual, let's say, ability or whatever you want to call it, when it comes to are they in a space of emotional abundance, or are they in a space of emotional lack. And to delay gratification is to put yourself in a space where you're not depending on anything when it comes emotionally. You're not dependent on anything when it comes to depending on something to make you feel a certain way when it comes to emotionally, but you are delaying gratification. Therefore, you're putting yourself in a space of experiencing emotional abundance. You're putting yourself in a space of experiencing emotional gratification in other areas. Emotional gratification in areas where these things that you're being emotionally gratified in are going to be things that are going to help you, not just emotionally, not just be emotionally stable, not just be more emotionally strong, not just be more emotionally perseverance to whatever it is that you're going through, but mentally strong, physically strong, and spiritually strong through delaying that gratification to what it is, because you're going to be the one who's going through it. You're going to be, okay, I no longer have to feel this certain way. I'm going to go and I'm going to go discover new ways of feeling about things. I'm going to go discover using my emotional state of being, or receiving things through my emotional state of being in different ways that I'm not necessarily used to, in ways that I'm not exactly stuck to, or had been stuck to, or had been in a past repetition aspect of being in that state of emotionally gratifying myself in this way, emotionally satisfying myself in this way, and reaching outside of the box when it comes to emotion, putting yourself on a path when it comes to emotion that is outside of what you're used to. Therefore, you can discover new things. Therefore, you can delve into new things. And you can always tell yourself, a certain thing may make you feel a certain way, and you may want to return to that. Of course, you can return to that. You can do whatever you want to in this life. No one's here to say, police what it is and what not to do, but you can return to that. Why don't you give yourself some time to delay gratification in that area, delay gratification in that action, delay gratification in that thought, delay gratification in that spiritual space, delay gratification in that feeling, or that, let's say, physical action or physical state, to expand, to grow in the time being, and to figure out other things outside of that. And eventually your time will come to return to that aspect. Your time will come to where you've outweighed and you've delayed gratification for a just amount, or for a enough time to where you are setting balance where it needs to be, and not just balance for physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually in your life, so that you know you can go back to what it is that you need to do. And a lot of times you'll find you've grown from that. A lot of times you find, hey, delaying gratification in that, I've emotionally matured from that, I've emotionally moved on from that, just by delaying gratification in that area. By delaying that gratification, you'll find I'm emotionally more wiser. I emotionally have this perspective of the way that I feel. Not only that, but the way that I react, the way that my emotional state of being is guided and constructed now through going through this process of delaying the gratification. I now find gratification out of going through troubled things. I find gratification out of going through more difficult times. I find gratification out of delaying gratification. You're going to find a sense of satisfaction once you are detaching from certain things that you're so used to, so constantly on a constant basis involved with. You're going to like I said, have new ways of how to emotionally react. And those who aren't delaying gratification when it comes to emotion, they're becoming more and more ridden of emotional dependency, becoming more and more ridden of needing mental crutches, becoming more and more ridden to being susceptible to mental illness, becoming more and more ridden to being susceptible to physical illness, becoming more and more ridden to being physically dependent on a certain external force just to have gratification, just to have satisfaction in the life that they're living, becoming more and more ridden to being an emotional lack of things, becoming more and more written to being spiritually tied or delusionally perceived to be spiritually tied to certain actions, certain thoughts, certain feelings, any certain space that they're in when it comes to spiritually. So straying away from that and putting yourself in a space that is original, putting yourself in a space that is right for you, that is mentally original, that is physically original, and that is spiritually original, and that is emotionally original from what it is that was here handed to you when you got here mentally, here handed to you when you got here physically, here handed to you when you got here emotionally, here handed to you when you got here spiritually, but reaching beyond those bounds of just the life that you know and the reality and the existence that you are aware of, to find other ways to gratify you, to find other ways in the existence to find satisfaction, to find other ways in this area to fulfill ourselves when it comes to mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually. So continue growing, continue expanding, and if you want to, or if you think that this would benefit you, and I'm telling you right now, I highly recommend that it will benefit you, delay gratification, whether that be altogether. Of course, there's aspects of things you guys have known that I've been able to break down things where if we're just talking about one state of being, doing a certain thing in one state of being, it's automatically going to have a connection or have an effect on another state of being. Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna switch the songs here. Alright, I guess that'll do for now. It's nothing that I specifically set out, but it just played after that prior playlist, so we'll just go with it. It is what it is at this point. It is what it is. And when it comes to putting in that process, like I said, you delay gratification in one area, you're going to learn a lot of other things just in other areas, just by default. And so really you do one thing is how you do a lot of things. So in doing that, you're going to realize, okay, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, this is how I am going through this thing. This is what I'm experiencing. And that's a way of viewing it, a way of perceiving it, a way of understanding and developing, or developing an understanding of what it is that you're going through. Last segment here. If you've watched through this video, I thank you for being to support. I thank you for watching my videos, because I know if you're watching my videos that you too are either on or close to a path of growing, on or close to a path of expanding, whether that be spiritually, whether that be emotionally, physically, or mentally. Keep doing your thing. Keep going. Don't stop. And when it comes to spiritually delaying gratification, when it comes to the spiritual aspect of delaying gratification mentally, delaying gratification physically, delaying gratification emotionally, are things that are going to put you on a spiritual path. You're going to be things that, not just, oh, I do this thing, I'm automatically becoming spiritual. I do this thing mentally, this thing emotionally, this thing physically, I'm automatically going to be a path of, now I'm spiritual, or now I'm developing more spirituality, whatever that may be. No, it's not going to do that just for you. You have to actually put in the work, and you have to have that intention. By delaying that gratification, you will enable yourself in order to move into a new space when it comes to spiritually. Rather, you'll be able to enable yourself to deal with new energies when it comes to spiritually. When it comes to that, you'll enable yourself to move on to a new spiritual plane of existence through delaying that gratification. Now, when it comes to delaying gratification, when it comes to spiritually, don't think, oh, you know what, spiritually, this is something I like to do. It makes me feel like I'm spiritually superior. This is something that I like to do. It makes me think that I have the spiritual hierarchy or spiritual superiority over one other being. Those types of things can have you possibly in a sense of gratification. And I can use the word humbling to kind of give you guys a better idea of what I mean, but I just mean recognizing and being real that, you know, being spirit, there's many other spirits around you. So it's not just about I'm this, I'm on my high horse all the time. When it comes to spiritually, I'm always gratified in this space. Spiritually, I'm always satisfied in this space when it comes to spiritually. But delaying gratification in that area when it comes to spiritually, you'll be able to gain a new perspective. You'll be able to gain a clearer perspective on really what it is when it comes to each person to person's sense of self, or each person's sense of spirituality, and that each being is another being. Just because you have this certain spiritual belief or view, or I try to stray away from that, but when it comes to belief, because not necessarily meaning that there's truth, but your spiritual connection to the truth, let's say, which I like a lot better, is one that you can reach through delaying gratification in other areas that are possibly having you toxically spiritually linked to things, toxically experiencing things when it comes to spiritually that aren't necessarily right for you. Being in a spiritual space that is docile, or that is one of ungrowth or one of unexpansion, could be another thing that you can delay gratification in those areas, and now you'll see that you're spiritually growing. Now that you'll see you're spiritually expanding, you're spiritually gaining a new perspective on ways to view things. You're spiritually developing, let's say, a spiritual system, a way to look at things, a sense of spirituality in general, whereas before you were more fixated on something when it comes to mentally, you were more fixated on something emotionally, you were more fixated on something when it comes to physically, not even being aware and not even considering the spiritual aspect of things, not even being aware and not even considering the spiritual awareness that you have the ability to wield, for other words, for lack of a better term. When it comes to delaying gratification, I told you guys that's something that ushered me onto a spiritual path. Of course, I was spiritual before that, but I'm able to even be more aware of what's going on, even more aware of my spiritual journey, use my spiritual awakening to help me to continue on a path of being and reaching the gratification, being and reaching the satisfaction in areas that are right for me, areas that are right for my path. Therefore, I'm taking care of what it is that I need to take care of when it comes to spiritually, being involved in the right path when it comes to spiritually, being involved in the right journey when it comes to spiritually, fulfilling the right certain desires when it comes to spiritually, things that are more towards my growth, more towards my expansion, more towards me reaching the space that I need to be in spiritually. Therefore, I'm taking care of what comes spiritually, that coming before the mind, that coming before the body, the physical, that coming before the emotional state of being, the emotions. Therefore, by delaying the gratification when it comes to spiritually, putting myself on a path that is of a spiritual expansion, and that is allowing me to spiritually grow, that is allowing me to be able to perceive things in a spiritual perspective that I did not have prior to delaying that gratification, or prior when I was stuck or docile in the specific actions when it comes to physically, in the specific thought, or dealing with the specific thought forms when it comes to mentally, in the specific feeling when it comes to, or dealing with that specific emotional state of being when it comes to emotionally. And therefore, the spiritual state of being is reaching spaces of other ways of finding that, of other ways of being in existence, and not finding in a way of, where you lost it and now you have to find it, but discovering is what I mean to say. Going into those new spiritual spaces and being able to exist in that spiritual space. So that's it for today. I will try to make the effort to, in going through my day and dealing with what I have to do and doing some certain things that I have to do, areas that I have to apply myself when it comes to physically, ways that I have to apply myself mentally, emotionally, and tying into my spiritual path with that, I will infinitely come back, and I will infinitely have another lecture. I will have another topic to speak of in the coming events, and in the future I will continuously be putting out videos. But when it comes to the aspect of today, I've got a couple things, like I said, that I've got to apply myself towards. Other than that, I'm going to try to loop back, going to try to get back in and put in that work more when it comes to mentally, put in some more work physically, put in some more work when it comes to mentally, when it comes to emotionally, when it comes to spiritually. Other than that, stay protected. I'm out.